Orbs in the world of the paranormal. Light anomalies, flecks of dust, or something more sinister, like this little orb that we captured at Benson Grist Mill. We're going to find out all about it. What are we calling this thing? Paranormal Consult Orbs. There it is.
You're recording, right?
Yeah.
There was definitely a man talking out here. We are a group of investigators.
And I didn't even turn it on,
Skeptics.
FYI, and it's on again in the middle of nowhere.
And one that's a bit empathic.
I think that I'm too empathic, that the room was upset that we were ghost hunting.
Join us on our adventures of diagnosing the mysteries of the paranormal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paranormal Consult. We got the Dr. Ghost Hunter team here. Guys, welcome.
Hey, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
So we're going to be talking about orbs. Sarah and I did a paranormal consult when it came to the Winchester Mystery House. I've already lost my voice. It's going to make for a great hour. And we started talking about orbs. Now, honestly, this is something in the paranormal that can usually be dismissed. But as we got to talking, we all seem to have a story. So on the episode tonight, we're going to share our stories, talk about the history of orbs and how this whole thing even got started, and show you some examples of things that we've captured. We're going to try and figure out what in the world they are. Sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get started, we want to remind everyone, we are Dr. Ghost Hunters. Go follow us where you are watching us here on the YouTube. Subscribe, turn on your notifications so that when we do our live investigations, you can join along. Jamie did the last time Jason, you and I were at Benson Grist Mill. We didn't know she was watching until she promptly started texting us to tell us everything we thought was a ghost was in fact not.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. Guys, we have a website, drghosthunterslc, where we post our latest evidence. You can buy merchandise from there as well, including some sweet t-shirts that Sarah makes. Go check those out, drghosthunterslc. We also have a voicemail if you ever want to call just to say hi. Leave us a location you'd like to see us investigate. 1-844-GHOST-44. That's 1-844-GHOST-44. If nothing else, just call it to listen to the voicemail that Sarah created. All right, guys. So before we get into the history here, you guys have your tiki mugs. Hopefully everyone at home's got their little tiki mugs here.
Did we tell them to?
No, but now they know this is like the inaugural thing. So we want everyone to partake in this. Leave us some comments here, throw them out in the chat. We're happy to respond to you. Tell us what your favorite beverage is of the night. This little concoction, Swig, which is like a Utah thing. I mix mine with Malibu rum, and it's pretty good. I'm shocked.
Don't know why.
We're going to talk about orbs versus light anomaly, simply to set everyone up so that they know what we're talking about here. But before we do that, surprise for all of you guys. Jamie, will you go over to the fridge? And in the door, there's going to be 5 things I want you to grab.
They'll all be the same.
They're all going to be the same. You're going to know what they are immediately. Now, part of the thing with Dr. Ghost Hunters here, we like to have a good time. And part of this is about camaraderie. So what we have here, Sarah, you want to tell the story about these? About the buzz balls?
All I can recall is that we went to that museum that we were at recently,
Petite in Payson,
and we went to the liquor store, and they had these buzz balls cocktails, and for some reason we started calling them Bagans balls.
It's because of Annie,
Okay.
who's no longer with us. We
Andy,
haven't
where
addressed
are
that.
you?
She's alive.
She's alive.
Well, yeah, she's alive. She's just not physically here anymore.
She has other things going on.
I guess that's probably a good point of clarification. At the time, we were joking because of investigation that we were like calling them Bagans balls, which I think is what got them a little trendy with us. And so we started drinking them. So for when you guys are done with your tiki drink, we got a Bagans buzz balls.
Fantastic.
Mhm. All right, Sarah, do you want to kick us off and talk to us about the difference between orb and light anomaly?
Sure. So, this thing that you wrote.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
We created this outline. It's glorious.
Chad's a planner.
See, here's the thing. I have to plan to make things like somewhat go smoothly for me. But Sarah's the type of person, she can show up and just be like, oh, yeah, here's all this information that I heard 4 years ago. And I happen to recite it perfectly.
Okay. A paranormal orb generally refers to a small spherical light or translucent shape that appears in photographs or is sometimes seen with the naked eye during paranormal investigations. Orbs are typically thought to be a manifestation of spirits or energies, and believers in the paranormal interpret them as evidence of supernatural presence. So a characteristic of a paranormal orb is that the shape, they're usually round and they vary in size. The colors can be white, but some may appear with slight tints of blue, green, or red. In the paranormal field, different colors are often speculated to represent different types of energy or emotions. Movement, orbs seen in videos or in person often move with a floating, smooth motion. This characteristic movement can sometimes differentiate an orb from dust or other natural particles. And paranormal orbs are often thought to be manifestations of spirits or residual energies. Some claim that the color or brightness of the orb may indicate its origin. So friendly or neutral energy.
Let's pause there for a second. We're going to talk about the history of why they're thought to be paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
I think orbs are like such a common term with investigating in ghost hunting, but why? Like, what makes a fleck on a photo suddenly a spirit?
Well, I mean, as part of the research that I did, talked about, I'd have to look at the word to be able to say it properly, but it's basically a human need to explain something that we can't explain. So we generally like, and I mean, we do this with our dogs. We look at them and we interpret their behavior as them telling us something. We don't know that that's accurate. Okay, well, you know that that's accurate.
The rest of
We all know it. We all know it.
But
We do have a studio cam. You can see the dogs here. Let's see if I can throw them up on this thing. But I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, there they are. They're thinking right now we're enjoying a delicious bone.
Not a bone. So it's called apophenia. Apophenia describes the human propensity to unreasonably seek definite patterns in random information, such as can occur in gambling.
Chad, we don't do that, do we?
How do you? Damn it! That's how I ended up as Triton.
I mean, King
That
Triton.
video's out now. Everyone can go see it. It's Idaho State Penitentiary. That's why I'm nude in solitary confinement, covered only by Merlin's beard. Triton's beard, I guess.
Definitely a pattern there.
All right, sorry.
So you have a summary of differences.
Yeah, you don't have to read them all off. Just whatever you think is best.
Okay. Well, I mean, so I guess a light anomaly is irregular streaks, glows, beams. I'm assuming based off of your little chart, light anomalies are something that maybe you see in person, but could also be captured in film.
Yeah.
And a paranormal orb is the same thing, basically, but because you're looking for ghosts, they're ghosts.
And I think they tend to be more spherical. It's just what people call them as orbs. I feel it's almost like this thing where if you say it's an orb, that people will immediately dismiss you. But if you say a light anomaly, it sounds more scientific. It's almost like how they changed the nomenclature of UFO and UAP. Like you say UFO and everyone's like, oh my God, you're crazy. And you say UAP and people are like, oh, you're crazy. So it's just is less severe of an immediate dismissal.
I mean, to further that, with light anomalies or orbs, in photography, it's actually called backscatter.
Oh.
So it's also can be called near camera reflection, and it's an optical phenomenon resulting in typically circular artifacts on an image due to the camera's flash.
That's what Nicole was calling it when we were at Idaho when she saw those.
every time.
Yeah. It's very technical.
Yeah. So
All right. Well, clear as mud for difference between orb and light anomaly.
They're the same thing.
Yeah, the same thing with maybe just some different characteristics of shape. But it sounds like people are just trying to make up two different terms for something that is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some experiences. And this is where this whole episode originated, is we were sitting around and Jamie had actually expressed that she had an experience with orbs, which kind of blew my mind. Jason, I don't know that you were there for this. Was this when we were on the ghost hunt or the walking ghost tour a couple weeks ago?
I think so.
I think
You
that's where it
mean-
was.
Yeah,
You
I
mean
think it
Jason's
was.
birthday that he didn't?
Yeah,
show
Jason's
for?
birthday party, which you didn't show
in
up
New
for.
Orleans.
Happy birthday, Jason. It was fun.
Yep.
My
We had a great
29th.
time.
You're 29.
I mean, I ended up going out with the three ladies and having a lovely dinner. Like, it was fine.
Oh,
Great time.
maybe
glad you
one
guys
day
had
we'll
fun.
take you to that restaurant.
Yeah.
It was
Where'd you
really
guys
good.
go?
No, you don't
Soy.
need to know the things you weren't there for
Yes.
for your birthday.
So
Now I'm curious.
we do have, well, speaking of curious, were you cupcaking?
I what?
Were you
I
cupcaking?
said
Were
you
you cupcaking that night?
Cupcakers got a cupcake.
What is cupcaking?
Were you out on a date that night?
Would I do that?
Yes, you would.
Oh my God! Uh-huh.
Well,
For the viewers at home, I had been to New Orleans the week before,
Yes.
and I was out on Bourbon Street for Halloween. So there were thousands of people, with who knows what virus or respiratory condition. So I picked up something there, but
and a bunch of beads.
You did come home with a lot of beads.
You were flashing everyone.
Yeah.
and the viewers at home might notice it's a little cold tonight. So
I think we could illustrate that. Yep. It's that fine 4K resolution there.
Maybe-
Just happens to be
Maybe
there.
Jason needs his own little mermaid costume.
Yeah. Next time it'll be you.
seashells.
So,
Seashell.
but that's where Jamie was talking about her orb experience. And so our next little section here, I want to talk about the experiences we've had. Jamie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Yeah. So I was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6. And I woke up in the middle of the night, not sure what woke me up, but I saw in my room, kind of above my door, that there was this like giant ball of light in the room, just up in the room, maybe about, if a human were standing in the room, about their height, like where their head would be, like an adult. And it completely freaked me out. And I just remember like thinking I need to get to my mom, because I was a small kid, right? It was just terrifying. So I remember just like sliding out of bed and like getting down on my hands and knees and crawling under it so that it didn't touch me. And it wasn't moving. It was just sitting in the middle of the room. And I just crawled underneath it and ran into my mom's room and went to bed, and I never saw it again. So
What do you guys think when you hear this? I mean, for me, obviously, it blows my mind for someone who is clearly our biggest skeptic
Mhm.
to have that type of experience.
I think she's been a believer from a young age.
I think that there's light that we can see and can't explain.
Okay.
True.
I think one of the most documented phenomenon is light anomalies that people see in real life. Like there are multiple locations that I found when I was researching this where I think one was called like Devil's Creek or something like that, where people can go and it's not lightning bugs. People see light anomalies. And so I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying it did happen. I'm just
But to have such a vivid memory as a child and remember that into adulthood
Mhm,
and
yeah.
being a non-believer is also a big thing.
Maybe it was a portal.
maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it very clearly was there. Even when I was crawling under it, I looked up and I could still see it.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like a reflection on the wall. It was 3D in the room, just kind of hanging out.
Do you remember feeling anything different, like temperature or scared or calm? Anything at all? Any other
Hear
sensation?
anything?
No, it was quiet. I mean, I was scared, but I don't remember anything else like
Huh.
temperature. I mean, I was, like I said, I was 5 or 6, 7, just in that age range. I don't remember a lot of it, but I can picture it in my mind, like how big it was, where it was, and what I did.
So how long did it like you said you were going to your mom, I think by the time she came back with you, was it gone?
Oh no, I just went in and crawled in bed and we went to sleep. Like I don't think I
Okay.
even woke her up. I just crawled in bed with her and went to sleep.
Hmm.
And just like it didn't follow me, it didn't move, but it never came back. I didn't see it again after that night.
Interesting.
And we did live in a really old house. We lived in a house on Downington Street, you know, in like the Liberty Park area.
Oh yeah.
So our house was really old.
For those not in the Salt Lake area, that is an older area, older.
Yeah, the
establishment.
houses were probably built in the 20s or 30s.
Interesting. Huh. Did little Jamie know in that moment that she was going to be a professional ghost hunter
Well, of course not.
a mere 20 years later?
Thank you, Chad.
I gotcha. Interesting. I don't know what else to say to that. That's pretty remarkable. I think one of the hard parts, I'll tell a story here in just a minute, but one of the hard things for me is knowing these stories that we all have. And if we don't have evidence of them, like we just have our brain. And Jason and I will talk about this a little bit later. Like there can be medical explanations for some of these. I'm not saying that's what happened to you because I had a very similar experience. And I'm pretty sure I know that it wasn't a medical thing. But how do you prove it when you just don't have it? Like, how do we not know that our brain didn't create it? And then as we tell the story, as time goes on, that is not something that we are cementing something that might have been there. And now, you know, it becomes bigger and bolder. It's really tough. It's really a tough phenomenon. Well, very good story. Nicole, you have one as well. And this one, you've got some proof.
I do. do.
You've got some receipts.
I do. I
Step
wish I
right up
had-
into that microphone if you don't mind. People want to hear your
I
voice.
wish I had the further evidence from the camera roll that I had to prove that there were two very vivid shots of this experience that I had out in California of the same place. Never did anything with my camera. Didn't know that these were showing up on film until after I got home from California, and the pictures were crazy to think that I was taking pictures around the party, and there was just quite the contrast of what looks like 100 orbs around us.
I'll share it right now.
And it's not dust, it's not water. We are like at a pre-wedding party, having drinks around the pool. It's fascinating to think because everything that my husband at the time thought that because of this person's history in the medical field, his childhood friend was marrying a girl that's mom founded that HIV leads to AIDS and has won a Women of History Award with a lot of even mega stars and people who have done a lot for us. And I just thought that this is a crazy coincidence. And
Yeah.
orbs, I think, can be spirits sometimes. And the fact that these were all around, it just felt like these were celebrations, almost like spirit confetti, orb
Yeah.
confetti, if you will, because I can tell you honestly that this isn't dust and this isn't bugs. This isn't water. They're perfect circles. It wasn't raining, and they were everywhere, and they were in 2 photos, and it was an absolutely wild experience to look back on and say, like, what was this? Especially because we have photos in the same area that are not this.
So you didn't see any of that with your naked eye.
No.
Interestingly to me, it almost looks like the photo is out of focus. Almost to where perhaps it's trying to focus on some of these things that it's capturing.
Yes.
Now, I don't know cameras. I don't make cameras. I did not research them extensively for this just because of the variety that exists in cameras and lenses. If it was dust, I have a really hard time thinking there's going to be that much dust and no one's going to notice it.
Yeah.
You would notice it medically, like you would feel it, right, with your lungs.
Absolutely.
And why would a lens try to focus on a piece of dust in front of the two in this photo?
Exactly.
And if it's not raining, and clearly it's not, I mean, we see the shirt on the left, which is white. It is not damp. It's not wet. I don't know how else to explain that.
Exactly. And that's where talking about orbs again at Jason's birthday party.
You should come next time.
I hear it was good.
You should join us next time.
I brought up this photo of saying, like, I think I've had a lot of experience with orbs, but this is the one that was like shocking. How many there are around this photo. And I will charge up that camera. I think I still have it.
Oh, really?
I'll help to get to the bottom and show you guys the proof of, like, this is not what this was like in real life.
Well, you
Like,
said that there were other photos that were normal,
yeah, in the
right?
same
And you just don't
area.
happen to have it like immediately
Yeah.
available.
And we were right by the pool. There's not like a fire. There's nothing to say this was anything else. And I was there, and I have no reason to lie about it. Like, this is very much what this photo shows, just these round orbs
Right.
all around us.
The interesting part, as well as the backstory. I mean, there doesn't have to be a story for paranormal, right? Like Sarah and I talk about this all the time. I try and tell her, like, oh, we should go investigate this hospital or something. Sarah's like, it doesn't have to have a story behind it. This story is pretty remarkable in a very, very interesting photo. I'm really curious what people watching this have to think about this. There is texture to some of these orbs. Some people really believe that the color, the intensity, the different texture of the orbs means something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would be. I don't know that there's evidence to back that up, but you can certainly see examples of that here. It's a pretty incredible photo.
And I will say, if anyone wants to look her up, her name is Flossie Wong Stahl.
Huh.
You can look up all the things she did for the community of HIV, and she was a doctor as well. And
A
she received
virologist.
a lot of prizes
Wow.
for her investigative work.
Did you show her this photo? Has she seen this?
She
She
has
passed
since
away in
passed.
2020.
You did tell me
Um,
that.
So I think that it just is such a crazy circumstance.
It is. Wow. Well, I get to follow that one up. So my orb experience does not come with evidence. Mine comes at Benson Grist Mill. And it's the photo there. We do have a photo that we showed here in the pre-show. Let me see if I can pull that one up again. So one of the first times that Jason and I were there, you can see our investigations on YouTube. Go back and click through our live streams. You can see them there. We also have some edited videos, and we're going to have another Benson Grist video coming out next week. So you can check that one out as well. We've got some great evidence there too. While Jason and I were investigating, you can see the stairs. You will be able to see them when I show this. There are wooden stairs that go up 2 additional floors from the main floor. And as you do it, they're wooden. Nicole, I am really proud of you. Here, I'll help you. I'll take your camera off just for a second.
Thanks.
Nicole decided it was time to strip down during the show. As we're climbing up the set of stairs, which you can see just off to the left of here. So you can see the stairs going up, but then the stairs turn 90 degrees to the left and come directly back at us. Now, the thing is, from that set of stairs there, you can't see what's going up the next set because there is a wooden wall there, if I'm describing that well. Now, as Jason and I were investigating, we turned the stairs and I'm leading and I don't have my camera on. I see a glowing ball of light, just smaller than the size of a basketball, floating down a couple of stairs from left to right, and then just vanishes right in front of my eyes like that. And there was no explanation as to where this could have come from. The light that you see from this window can't get to the next set of stairs. There's obviously no light bulbs inside of this mill. And we couldn't explain it. Now, the interesting part about this is I mentioned earlier that what makes me know that it actually happened and that my brain didn't just tell me that something was there. We immediately threw the REM pod down and got responses immediately after that. Do you recall that?
Yeah, and your response was immediate. Like you turned around and you said, "I just saw a basketball size shaped orb."
Yeah.
So your response made me think you definitely saw something.
You'll be able to see some of that footage from immediately after on our next Benson Grist Mill video. But interestingly, Sarah was kind of downstairs hanging out on the porch. Sarah, you didn't want to go in there because there could be spiders inside of there.
Bugs.
And bugs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you're snapping photos.
Mhm.
Same night that this happened. Excuse me, the swig cocktail is getting to me. And you captured this photo that I'm showing here. This is exactly what I saw. Now, you didn't see this with your eyes, right? You were just a point and click camera, I believe. Or was it with your phone?
I was using my phone, but I tend to, when I'm at these things, I just take several pictures in succession of the same
Mhm.
spot.
Yeah. And it wasn't until you came back and showed it, you're like, hey, I think I caught something. And this is what I saw. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it is, but certainly having a little piece of backup for me solidified that to some extent. So that's my orb story. That's all I got. Jason, you got anything for orbs?
So I haven't actually seen an orb myself. Number of years ago, we went to a family member knew someone that had some activity going on their house. Chad's pulling it up right now.
Oh yeah, my dad.
Yeah.
My dad, the security guard at his work.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these orbs that, now we had to see this on the camera. We didn't see this with our naked eye, but the orbs would seem to come out of the wall and go straight up into the ceiling. And like I said, we couldn't see anything with our naked eye. There wasn't a lot of dust. Like we were just sitting there, so we weren't stirring things up. But you can see the orbs just keep going up into the ceiling for some reason.
Yeah, they'll pop up here in just a second. So look to the left, and you can see curtains on the far left side. And then there's a picture frame just beyond those curtains. In that spot, there's no vent there. There's nothing coming from there. But when these orbs get going, they seem to be coming right out of that spot. See, I teed this up perfectly so that nothing happens as we're showing this. It makes for just riveting video. But wait, they will get going. Okay.
And the owner did have
Here we
a dog that was upstairs in the bedroom that was growling when some of this was going on.
Yeah.
So take that for what it is. But
we tried so hard to debunk this. If you remember, we got up on a ladder or like stood up on a chair and we're trying to knock dust off of that fan to see if there was dust coming from there. We tried to see if there were bugs there. Like we were shaking the curtains. We could not debunk this. I don't know what in the world to make of this. I don't think this particular clip, they come shooting out so far of that spot from the left, but when they get going, it's like it was a vacuum being pulled into the room.
Yeah, you can see some of them going now. A little different direction, but a lot of orbs there that I can't explain.
Yeah, I don't know what in the world that is. Jamie, what do you think of that? Can you see it?
Not really.
Yeah, you don't
Oh,
have a
yeah,
perfect screen.
Okay, I saw one go up. I remember watching this video after you guys took it.
Yeah.
And I just thought maybe it was just dust, but I didn't know that you guys had gone through like those lengths to try and recreate dust or bugs or, you know, seeing what it was. So
Right.
I don't know.
We even offered my ex-wife to whatever that was and then didn't take her. But
She was your current wife at the time. You offered her up and now she's your ex-wife. So maybe it did work after all, huh? I mean, she's gone.
The drum set.
just throw that in there.
See, there came one that just came shooting out of there. And the whole reason that we actually went to this place is because she has some cameras to capture this activity. And we thought it was fake somehow. We thought it was staged, and we tried really hard to debunk this and we could not figure this out. That one's odd.
So that's my primary experience with orbs. Obviously, you know, taking pictures over the years, have caught some orbs on various pictures, but that's really my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one, man. All right. Very good. And last but not least, Sarah, you have a pretty cool orb story as well. Now, in a similar fashion to Jamie, you were nonchalant, and I think you've told me this before, but like very nonchalant told me this story, and this story is pretty incredible. And you actually had your sister there with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to call her up and get her on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to get her on now?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can do this.
Okay.
Through the power of technology and a soundboard, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah has a few sisters.
Yeah.
One of which, Annie, no longer with us.
Again, she's
Still
alive.
alive.
And one of which is the evil one. This is the evil one.
Okay.
No.
Lauren knows this.
Hey, Laura.
Hey,
How's it going?
you guys hear me? Good.
Yeah, you're live on
Yeah.
YouTube.
I may have called you the evil one. I thought she was calling the other sister, so I was confused. I apologize for that.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'll
Anyway,
be clarified.
so Chad did not want me to discuss this with you beforehand because we wanted to see.
Yeah, we don't want to taint the response.
Fair.
Okay.
I know. I was like, I'm excited. What could it be?
Okay, so my recollection of this situation is that we were still sharing a room, but it was like your room when you got older at mom and dad's house.
Okay.
So we were in the twin beds, and so I had to have been like under the age of 7. And
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember waking up in the middle of the night, looking out the window, and you were awake, and you were also looking out the window, and there were lights, like balls of light, kind of floating towards us. And then I would like duck my head down, and I'd be like, Laura, get down. And then we would get back up, and the lights would be like further away, but then they would start coming towards us again. Do you remember this happening?
I don't remember that instance, but I do remember. I don't know if you want me to tell you like another story about that bedroom.
Yeah.
I do. So that bedroom was always weird.
Yeah.
You know, like it always had a weird feeling to it. I don't know if you went down the hypnotism story, but we can come back to that later when we hypnotize Becca.
Yeah.
And that has to do with that bedroom.
Okay.
But the point is, that bedroom, I do remember, and I might have just been too young because I was a little bit younger than you.
Yeah.
But maybe a couple years after that, when I was in like 2nd grade, so I would have been, I don't know, 8, 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing my homework one day, and I still had the twin beds in there. And so in between the twin beds was a nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
And on the nightstand was a box of tissue.
Yeah.
Because I've been, it's winter, I'd been cold, or I'd been sick or something. Anyway, so I'm sitting down at my desk, and the desk where I sat, my back was facing to the twin beds and the tissue box.
Yeah.
And I was doing homework, sitting at the table, and mom and dad started calling me. They're like, hey, Laura, dinner's ready. And I was like, okay. And I wanted to finish whatever I was writing.
Yeah.
So I was finishing what I was writing, and I heard something behind me moving. And I turned around, and there was nothing there. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I kept writing. And mom and dad called me again. And I was like, okay, coming. And I heard something move again. And it sounded just like kind of like something like moving across the top of something, just a very subtle, like there was something behind me. And so I'm like finishing. And all of a sudden the tissue box just goes flying off the table.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Onto the floor. And I remember like turning around, and it scared me so badly because I heard the sound. It was almost like this shifting noise. And then all of a sudden it was a very violent, like it didn't just fall off the table. It went across, like I could see it on the floor in front of the bed. You know? And I was so scared. I just went like running upstairs to dinner.
Yeah.
But like that room always felt like there was someone watching you, or there was someone in there. But that was the only time I ever experienced like something actually physically move in the room that I remember seeing.
Okay. Yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. But I was so young when we shared a room. Honestly, I barely remember that you even shared that room with me.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was probably a brief amount of time before you moved into your room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were up in Becca's room for a while. So I think we were only downstairs together for like a year, if that.
Okay. Yeah. I remember being in Becca's room, all 3 of us. But I don't remember a long period of time. I mean, I had the twin beds in there forever, but I don't remember a long period of time of us in that same room. So maybe I just don't remember a lot of that here,
Yeah.
But that room was always weird because it was actually originally the basement of the house,
Mhm.
and it was not meant to be a bedroom.
Yeah.
And so when mom and dad moved in, they actually finished that room
Yeah.
in order to make it a bedroom.
Yeah. Cause there was
Uh-huh.
shelving and drawers in there.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It was like a storage room or something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
But
a weird
anyway,
room.
I don't know if that contributes to the story or not, but that's what I remember
I
about
mean,
that room.
we can probably call you several more times with weird shit that happened at mom and dad's house.
Laura, do you have any orb stories?
Literally.
Have you ever seen an orb or been on investigation or have any photos that stand out to you?
That's a good question. It's a little hard because I feel like also I have astigmatism in one eye. So I feel like I've always seen a lot of like floating stuff, but always little things. Like I would lay awake at night and I could just see a lot of things in the air, but it's hard to say because I feel like, again, like I've always had kind of bad eyesight, and I think I just have a lot of like stuff in my eyes,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that I've ever actually seen a thing. I've only seen something move, but I don't know that I've ever seen an orb or a thing.
We've been doing this for years, wanting something to move and never captured that. So I feel like you hit the jackpot there.
Yeah. I know. It's the only time I've said something that's physically, and it was, like I said, it was a very violent move. And now in hindsight, I'm like, somebody was moving it slowly,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden hit it, kind of like in the movie Ghost, where they're like I always think about like where they're kind of like figuring out how to move something,
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels in hindsight, was that they were figuring out how to make it move, and then all of a sudden it hit it,
Yeah. Huh.
So yeah. But I don't think I've seen anything floating. So
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Laura. You guys
Yeah.
can check out Laura on the investigation of Petite Neat from earlier this year, where we captured that incredible FLIR anomaly. Jamie, we're going to talk about that at some point. But Laura, thanks for joining.
Thanks, man.
Anytime. Enjoy. Have
Okay.
a good rest of your show. Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Sounds like maybe she was just a little too young to remember.
Yeah, she was pretty young.
So any other thoughts that you had about those orbs that you saw?
No, it's just a weird thing that I remember. I know that they were all different colors. And I mean, honestly, like when I think back on it, I'm like, it was probably just a dream, but it just felt so real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
And I mean, she made a good point. Like, I think we only shared a room for like a year in that room. So like me having that very specific, very vivid memory of being in that room at the same time as Laura.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, guys. Well, Sarah, next up with all of those thoughts, I thought perhaps we could talk a little bit about history of orbs and the paranormal.
Mhm.
You prepared for that?
Sure.
How you guys doing on your drinks? Goodish.
Yeah, good.
I noticed I'm the only person who busted open the Bacon's balls.
You'll not be
Well,
drinking that.
Oh, it's not delightful.
I'm here for you,
It's
Chad.
not.
It's not delightful.
No, it's not delightful. No, it's not the best thing
Does
I've
it
ever
really
had.
make me want to?
Here's a present. It's gross.
It was more just to get that initial laugh out of you guys.
If Annie were here, she'd disagree.
That's
It's
true. She
true.
did really like them,
Yeah.
but then she left them all at the house.
Annie, if you're out there, call us.
Proof of life.
We miss you.
She's out there.
Just not with us.
Stop saying it that way.
I had a patient do that. I know I've told you this 100 times, but for people watching this, they'll find some sort of entertainment value. There was an older and very sickly patient that I had, and his wife always came with him. Always. She was not a patient of mine. Well, one day on the schedule, she shows up as a patient, new patient visit. So go in, start talking to her, and we start talking about her husband. He had signed a release of info for her, so it was fine. And I said, "Oh, how's so and so?" She looks me dead in the eye and she pauses. Well, he's not with us, and just stares at me. I'm like, "Oh my God, when did this happen?" Like I usually get notification of these things. I'm so sorry. So, sorry. Why are you sorry? He's out in the car. He's just not physically here in the room with us. I could have strangled her in that moment. Oh, communication.
That's why we
loving
don't
way.
assume, Chad.
In a loving, in like just
Like
a hug.
a hug.
Yeah,
a
just
tight hug around the neck.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. All right, Sarah, give us some history behind how these orbs became associated perhaps with paranormal
Okay.
or whatever you got. I assume you got something. Either that or you're going to read what I put on there. Either way, it sounds lovely.
Yeah. Before photography was invented, sightings of strange lights or orbs were often attributed to supernatural phenomena. In medieval and ancient folklore, lights were commonly described in association with spirits or mystical forces. For instance, people in ancient times might have witnessed lights that hovered or moved in strange ways, often interpreting them as signs from deities, spirits, or supernatural beings.
Let's pause there. I can get that.
Mhm.
They have no other technology, no other way to figure out where these things come from.
Swamp gas.
Yeah. No, seriously, that's going back to it. That could very well be what it was, but they had no clue.
Mhm.
And we would see this both in folklore from Europe
Mhm.
and in texts from ancient Asia, where people would see these things,
Mhm.
which is pretty incredible. Not just in one culture where this originated.
Yeah.
I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Well, and I mean, like halos, anyone who's like been in churches that have stained glass and people who are like sainted or are supposed to be like God's chosen, like Mary, Jesus, John the Baptist, those types of people, they'll have like a golden ring around their head. And those halos, the reason that like, we have the halo for angels is because they were actually supposed to just be like engulfed in light. And that's how they were depicting that. And so
many words of halo, I just think of Beyonce.
I was going to say the same thing. I should have added that as a soundtrack here.
I'm one step ahead, Chad.
I appreciate that.
One of the oldest documented light anomalies in folklore is the concept of the will-o'-the-wisps or ghost lights. Goat lights. Mysterious
Jason was
flickering
talking
lights.
about the goat lights just a couple of weeks ago. Do you want to tell that story real quick?
Wait, what goat lights?
Damn it, Jason. I'm trying to tee you up.
I missed my birthday and the goat lights.
Wait, did you see the goat lights on your date on your birthday?
Hey!
I still don't know what cupcaking is,
He
but
still have not denied it.
Flickering lights often seen over marshes and swamps in Europe, particularly in England. Legends describe these lights as spirits of the dead or mischievous beings that could lead travelers astray. Indigenous cultures also have similar tales of ghost lights or fireballs seen as omens or spirits or of ancestors.
Give me a trigger warning if you're going to say
fireball. I mean, that's also like
speaking of evil spirits. My God.
There's also St. Elmo's fire, which I mean, I don't know what to call them. They're not pirates, but people who would like go exploring in the ocean.
Okay.
People on boats, like big boats. And they would be like, oh, St. Elmo's fire will guide us. And it's like, oh, they were supposed to be able to see flames out in the ocean.
Oh.
But they didn't because it wasn't real.
And by big boats, do you mean ships?
Ships, yes. Ships. And non-pirates.
Not
Sailors.
pirate ships.
Just
Ships.
ships.
Like adventurers.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. The concept of orbs gained further prominence during the late 19th century with the rise of the spiritualist movement. Spiritualism, which centered on communicating with the dead, became highly popular in the US and Europe. Many mediums reported seeing spirit lights during seances, which they interpreted as evidence of a spirit's presence. These lights, while not photographed, were described as orbs or radiant shapes visible to the naked eye, often attributed to the spirit world. The advent of photography in the 19th century brought a new way to document unexplained phenomena. Early paranormal photographers often captured mysterious light forms or orbs on film. These early photographs were often taken during seances or in locations thought to be haunted. However, some of the earliest orb images may have been the result of photographic limitations such as light reflection, dust, or moisture on the camera lens. The earliest known photograph of a paranormal light anomaly is difficult to pin down, but photographs from the late 19th century taken by spirit photographers like William Mumler and Frederick Hudson sometimes show hazy, translucent shapes thought to be spirits. Though not called orbs at the time, these light forms share a visual similarity with modern ghost hunters, with with what modern ghost hunters call orbs.
Okay, let's pause for a second. How do I become, what did you call this? A paranormal photographer?
Mhm.
Can I have that as a job?
Yeah, I don't think it pays anything.
That would be problematic. Let's go back to your boy Mumler here.
Uh-huh.
Now, interestingly, about the timeline I want to speak about between photographs being a thing
Mhm.
and thank you, Jason. Photographs being a thing and the spiritualist movement
Mhm.
happened to coincide.
Yeah.
Where seances were a really big thing in the mid to late 1800s.
Yeah.
And that's when photographs originated as well.
Mhm.
Now, this guy Mumler, he was pretty famous for capturing not so much orbs, but anomalies.
Mhm.
Now, let's check this out. One of the most famous photos of a ghost of Abraham Lincoln.
Mhm.
Check this out. So, Mary Todd Lincoln had heard that Mumler was able to capture the photos of the dead in his photographs. So, reached out to Mumler. And in this photo, you can see Abraham Lincoln. I assume that's Mary Todd standing over her. Pretty incredible, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's fake.
It's fake. There are hundreds of these.
Mhm.
And in fact, Mumler's work led to a huge disagreement and the breaking up of the friendship of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini
Mhm.
because of their argument about whether or not he was faking these photographs.
Mhm.
And all came from your guy Mumler.
Well, I mean, there was that, and then there were some other things we'll probably
Yeah.
talk about in another video.
That and some other stuff. But these photographs, I mean, certainly this guy, check this dude out. He looks shady, like quite shady. Let me show you his photo. This is Mumler. I don't know if this guy's doing my photograph. Speaking to ghosts, I don't know that I'm buying
a
it.
few of these.
Could be the spokesperson for Buzzballs. They got
Speaking
Bagans and Mumler.
Speaking of buzzballs, I just want you to circle back to your childhood and think about Cocoa Puffs.
Oh yeah,
Or Cocoa Pebbles.
yeah.
Think about the milk water with vodka. Now
Let's-
drink with me.
yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah,
100%. So if you're ever wondering what these taste
yeah,
like,
that would be this. And
go
I think
back to your childhood, unless you've had them yesterday or this week.
Mumler had like the moonshine version of the Buzzball, and apparently started seeing these photos. So just an interesting point is all there of Mumler.
Okay.
Hi.
So,
Hi, Sarah.
hi. I was checking on the dogs.
I see that.
So with digital photography, reports of orbs skyrocketed. Today, orbs are often captured in photos at haunted sites or during paranormal investigations and are popularly believed to be spirits, energies, or even portals to other dimensions. Some
You
paranormal...
can't say portal around Jason, just as you can't say fireball around me. This man, this video has not been edited yet. It will be the next video I edit, I promise. We went to a haunted mansion in Utah and we stayed the night.
Mhm.
One of us of the group decided to take his little blankie and sleep right next to Sarah and I in our room. I'll let the audience decide who that was.
I don't
Because-
even think there was a blankie.
Because
Oh,
of
there was no
fear,
blankie.
because of fear of a portal.
I'm not sleeping right next to a portal. I don't know what's coming out of that thing. I don't want to wake up to a surprise.
I mean, Jamie and I had a full jetted tub behind a short wall that you could have slept in.
Why did no one tell me about this?
Too busy losing your mind.
You'll
man.
see the evidence, though. There's definitely something going on there
There's
that
definitely
I
something going
can't
on.
explain. And as a believer, I just don't want to be sleeping right next to that.
Yes.
It's fair. It's fair. Okay. So just the research that I did on orbs is that I think I discussed this earlier, but it's called backscatter. It's a common phenomenon in photography, no matter where the photos are being taken. And it's is it Fujifilm or Fujifilm? I can never remember. Fujifilm. So yeah, Fujifilm describes the artifacts as a common photographic problem. There is always a certain amount of dust floating around in the air. You may have noticed this at the movies when you look up at the light coming from the movie projector. Obviously, this is old because there are no longer.
No, that's
movie
a great
projectors.
example, though. And
Yeah.
so, Sarah, you and I didn't talk about this at all. I
Yeah.
actually took a photo of our mirror upstairs.
Mhm.
I did not put it on here just because I forgot. But I took a photo of when the sun was coming in and hitting the mirror and how you could only see the dust in that ray
Mhm.
because of the exact phenomenon that you're describing.
So
I mean, we don't have dust in our house, but if we did, that's
we
where it
have
would have
dust
been.
in our house.
Yeah.
In the same way, there are always dust particles floating around nearby when you take a picture with your camera. When you use the flash, the light from the flash reflects off the dust particles and is sometimes captured in your shot. Of course, dust particles very close to the camera are blurred since they are not in focus, but because they reflect the light more strongly than the more distant main subject of the shot, that reflected light can sometimes be captured by the camera and recorded on the resulting image as round white spots. So these dots are the blurred images of dust particles. There's also a very lengthy thing talking about the inverse square law. Light appears much brighter very near the source due to the inverse square law,
Jamie
which
was
says
talking about this last week.
light intensity is inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the source. The artifact can result from backscatter or retroreflection of the light and from airborne solid particles such as dust, pollen, liquid droplets, especially rain or mist. They can also be caused by foreign material within the camera lens. The image artifacts usually appear as either white or semi-transparent circles, though they may also occur with whole or partial color spectra, purple.
Okay,
fringing.
hold on. This is a whole hell of a lot.
Mhm.
The lenses can cause these things.
Yeah. So basically, I tried to condense everything the best I could, but this has been debunked. This has been debunked since like the 50s. This is not spiritual. Now, there's all kinds of things like, okay, well, there wasn't a flash in the photo. Okay, it could still be because the camera is taking the light from the source. So even if you're not using a flash, it can be reflecting.
The iPhones do this too.
Well, and so that was another thing is that, and I was even just like looking at the back of my phone, like I probably haven't used a real camera to take a photo in 6 years.
Yeah, it's been a bit since you've had one.
So the way that all cameras on cell phones, not just
Not
iPhones.
Androids.
Yes, Androids.
Hold on. Jason is the person in the group who screws our group chat.
Makes it green.
Makes it
Can you
green.
please? I don't care if you don't want to comment on anything else in the video, that's fine.
Or if
Can
your
you
phone won't let
please?
you.
Yeah. Can you please just tell Jason to get an iPhone?
I've saved some very awkward situations because of that. You're welcome.
I mean, that is true.
One time.
Hey, that was on Christmas Eve. It's coming up.
Could have been
the
very
anniversary.
I
awkward.
think we're gonna
though.
have a Christmas Eve reenactment, perhaps this year.
Okay, so if you look at the back of a phone,
Here, I'll put you up on it. There we
okay.
go.
The flash, I'm assuming is that one, is very close to the camera lens. And then I actually have multiple lenses because this is like one of those stupid fancy things I never use. The flash being close to the lens makes it more likely that you're going to have light anomaly in the
Yeah.
photo. So the reason that we have so many light anomalies in photos as we've gotten more digital cameras is because of the placement of the flash near the lens. And also like having all of these different angles,
Yeah.
it's going to be picking things up. In film, in like
Except for with
infrared,
Androids.
no, it happens with all cameras.
Oh yeah, that's what happens when you have the same technology as like a point and shoot disposable camera from 1997.
Sometimes basic is better.
I want to reflect back to the photo I had shared. That was in 2012, and we were outside.
No,
Just say
I am
just-
not.
No,
Yep.
it's perfect
This
time to
was a
add
call out,
add
but
context
I
to that.
think
Yeah,
Whereas new phones are reflecting dust, reflecting everything that flashes
right.
near the camera, mine wasn't this. We were outside,
That's so wild.
which I didn't mention before. And it was 2012.
So it's again, we don't know why we see these things, why they would be in the photograph. But Fujifilm. Why do I always want to call it Fujifilm?
Because it's a place.
Has said that this is not something that you can use to prove the can't think of the word.
That's okay.
Existence
Okay,
of
yeah,
ghosts.
yeah.
Now that's not saying that they're not there, just saying that it shouldn't be used to prove the existence.
Sure. And I think that that's a perfect segue to a couple of things. You were correct. It is Fujifilm. Jason and I were talking like, how can we prevent this outside of technology when you go on ghost hunts? And I think there's a couple of things that you can do, some of which you hit on. Nicole, you did this. We just didn't have the examples of it. When you're taking photos, which we take a lot of photos, like Sarah takes photos when she's not walking around with us. We take a lot of photos. They just don't always end up making it through the edit because we don't capture anything on them. Take multiple photos at the same time, right? If you get something that's in one of the photos and not in the other two, I think it's a little less likely that it's dust or something that could be explained away. Jason and I try to make a habit out of this. You guys definitely do this, but more so as a way to
Get the perfect photo.
to poke fun at some of the locations that we get in a joking way. Before you set up, make a point to stop and just walk around the place and see how dusty it is. It sounds so simple, but when you're setting up your equipment, you're, running out of your bedroom because there's a portal in there. You're not stopping to think if there's dust there, because if there is, you could almost immediately discredit any orb that you're going to pick up, which makes it tricky.
Especially like at the grist mill, there's dust all over there.
Everywhere.
So it doesn't mean that orbs don't mean anything. Like if they're big, like basketball size, seen with your naked eye,
Right.
That's probably not dust, but something to be aware of.
No, it really is a great point. Taking the multiple photos. And so the counter argument, Sarah, you already nailed this, is, well, turn off your flash. Well, the hard part, if you turn off your flash, is all it's going to do is allow your phone to leave the lens open for longer to try and capture the natural light. In which case, if anybody moves or if anything is flying by that is dust, then you're going to see a light anomaly as opposed to an orb. And it's not necessarily going to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we have harped on a lot that if we do see something that we think is paranormal, we always like to have something else to corroborate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a really important technique to carry forth, at least for us.
Yep. Especially with orbs.
Yeah, especially with orbs. All right, Sarah, you got anything else on the history? That was pretty damn good.
I mean, I could read more, but I think we covered everything.
Okay. Well, how about this? We have a few examples of orbs in different places, both things that we have captured and then some things that I pulled offline. And I would just like to get your guys' opinion. And then the people watching this, whether you're watching it live or afterwards, whether or not you think this thing's an orb. Now, we're going to start with kind of a layup. Let's start with this. This is coming up from Benson Gristmill from the episode that we're going to show here shortly. Now, this is Tim, who you guys have not met before until this episode, which you'll see. He's up in the attic. Now, he's sitting. I didn't even know he was up there. I can't tell you how long he was there. But check out Tim's left shoulder. Now, the interesting thing to me, you're going to see some orbs fly up from around Tim, right around his left shoulder. It's going to shoot straight up. The interesting thing to me is his reaction. So let's go ahead and take a watch. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so there it goes. You can see it there clearly. And at the same time, his head, he shoots up as if there's a reaction. Now, as you mentioned, Jason, it is super dusty up there. Let's pause it one more time. Let's go back.
This is happening right now.
Oh, it's like bouncing.
It's his reaction that looks up that's really intriguing to me. But when I asked Tim about it, he didn't remember anything that occurred up there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you still chalk it up to dust. But for me, the second part of his reaction is interesting. It could very well have just been timing. I don't know.
Did he say meh?
Tim is very famous for saying meh. He just straight up said no.
Mm.
So that one to me, kind of interesting. You guys have any reactions to that? I mean, it looks like a piece of dust. His
Or a bug.
reaction or a bug. I mean, it did seem to originate like right from his soul. From
Could be any.
I always took Tim for more of like a cockroach soul type of guy, but a flying object could be.
The devil leaving him.
Tim's a friend of mine. I would bust his butt all the time. So that's number one.
Okay.
Okay. So number two, let's go to the Whaley house. Now, I think
That place
this
was
one.
so dusty.
Now, here's the thing with this. You felt that it was. I didn't feel like it was dusty in there.
So dusty and humid.
We're sitting under Yankee Jim's archway, where he's the famous
Allegedly.
death there.
Mhm.
Allegedly is a great point. You're going to see a couple of orbs pop up. I'm going to jump around just a little bit to try and capture this. Are we rolling on this thing? There we go. Okay, so hold on.
Oh,
Hold on.
boy.
We're doing an S day session. I did not have anything to block out my eyes. They had, I don't even remember where we
Looks
had the
like
bandana.
someone lost a bet.
Yeah.
Well, there
was
were
probably from
espresso
Branson.
martinis that we had at the Hotel
So
del
many.
Coronado before this. This didn't start until like midnight.
No.
If
It
I
was
recall.
so late.
It was so late. I mean, there were lots of.
Were you asleep under that if it was midnight?
I wanted to be, but I was not. So let me see here. I've got some notes. So the first 20 seconds, just pay attention. You're going to see some things shooting around. People commonly feel their neck get pulled or feel scratch here. You just saw one shoot across the screen. That to me was moving too fast for it to, and there it goes again, for it to be dust. You just saw one in the back doorway. You see another one there. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit.
Is that Annie?
That is Miranda.
That is our friend Miranda. Here, I'll see if I can
She's
give you
my
some audio on
hairdresser.
this. Yeah.
She's also still with us.
Yes.
Kind of. The lamp is flickering. Chad is a very kind and a very safe person. If you need to communicate through Chad, he is the person to do it through. Yeah.
That thing was so annoying. There were two of them and it was going off the whole night.
Are you communicating
You'll see
through Chad?
some orbs real quick. You just see them flash across the screen and then it's over. So the reason I show that is that music box. Now, as Sarah pointed out on this tour, if you ever take that over, or that late night tour, they set up all the equipment, including those music boxes. Like we've got one set up somewhere right up here. They set them up purposefully. I think.
It's right behind your
Yeah,
head.
right here.
Yeah.
They set them up so that it triggers the entire time you're there.
Yeah. it's
And
just
you're
going
not
off.
allowed to touch them. So they calibrate it. And the way these things work is the first few seconds that you turn it on, it reads if there's any obstruction in front of it. So they set it up, they turn it on, and then once it calibrates, they turn it so it hits the wall. So it goes off constantly to give an eerie feeling.
An obnoxious feeling.
But in this one, it seemed to go off at the same time that thing floated by, which I thought was interesting. I don't know what to make
well,
of
that
it.
was the second one. And that one, we were like moving it around and trying to get it to like turn off because just having them go off continuously was
gosh.
so
It
annoying.
it really
And he was like, "Oh, it's because it's a portal in the hallway," and I was like, "It's not a portal."
You're like, no. I don't know. Does that move the needle for you guys at all?
My needle is not moved.
Jamie, you initially said yes. We couldn't hear you. If you could say that again.
I didn't. Stop lying.
You're making things up again, Chad.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So that's the last piece that I think that we'll show here. I really don't know what to make of orbs. It really is an interesting phenomenon to wrap up. And I want to give you guys an open mic here in a second. But we all have a story about an orb. That's the only thing that we all have a story about when it comes to paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Yet just about every piece that we showed tonight, maybe it could be explained away. The history behind it is folklorish.
Mm-hmm.
It developed during a time of spiritualistic movement in photography. And so there's really two conflicting pieces of evidence there for me.
Well, I think similar to all paranormal evidence capturing, it's, well, we can't explain why it's doing it, so that's why it's paranormal. And I don't know that that's scientifically a good reason.
But what about with you and Jamie, the things that you saw, and with mine, like that we see with our naked eyes?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that we can't explain that.
I see.
Or perhaps we can, and I haven't found the information yet. However, in photography, with those music boxes, with the REM pod, just because it does something doesn't necessarily mean that it's paranormal that's triggering it.
True.
And so I think there's a lot of this, well, we can't explain why, so it must be paranormal.
Yeah.
And we can explain why, actually. So then it's not.
All right.
Also, I was a child, so
Yeah.
True.
that's a good explanation
Yeah.
for mine. Like
It is.
I could have been sleepwalking, which I did do a lot when I was a kid.
It's so terrifying. Laura used to do that too.
So,
Oh my
and
God.
just like Sarah mentioned, maybe she dreamt it. Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
and maybe
like,
with
and maybe
time,
I
our
dreamt it.
memories
Uh-huh.
inadvertently change, inform to what we think happened, and
Yeah.
it didn't.
I mean,
Yep.
I have a lot of dreams when I was a kid that I can still recall to this day, but some of them may have been real, or maybe all of them were dreams. And I just don't
Right.
know because I was so little, but I can still visually in my mind remember things that happened when I was a kid that were dream-like.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Well, and there are theories that kids are more sensitive to this type of activity. So
It's true.
I mean, we did hypnotize Becca.
And I think falling back to that of looking at my photo, I was an adult, 2012. I was 21. I think
Exactly.
I like that wasn't that far long ago
Mhm.
that, and we were outside.
Mhm.
This wasn't an indoor dusty location. There weren't things going on, and nothing. I know when I showed everyone the photo today, once I researched it, everyone asked me a bunch of questions, and there's nothing to say for what this is.
I can't explain your photo. Out of, I think, all the pieces that we showed here, I can't explain that.
Mhm.
was it windy at all that night? No.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell with the boys in the photo because their hair
So-
was very slicked down, but
I was also in a dress, and it was nighttime. It was warm. Like I said, it just is this crazy thing that showed up on our camera roll.
Interesting experiences.
Yeah.
No conclusion here, which I think is kind of fascinating. Well, guys, any final? Oh, wait, we got one more thing. Do you have any final thoughts before the final bit?
no.
I've heard 2 new experiences that I haven't heard, and I've been investigating with 2 of you for a decade. So I think there's other experiences we're going to find out about.
Because you were cupcaking.
Because you weren't
Well-
at your birthday.
Well, before that, like we've been looking at this for a decade. Jamie's been
Yeah.
going with us, and we didn't know any of this. So
Yeah.
Or Laura. I mean, I don't know Laura that well, but I don't know. Have you ever heard that story before?
I haven't, no. And I mean, she investigated with us, and we spent a weekend with her, a month ago,
Mhm.
and this didn't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
interesting.
I remember her telling it, so like I'm sure it happened. I mean, I don't think she's
Yeah.
misremembering that.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, before we wrap up, Jamie, will you grab the box over there? We got one last thing here for Mr. Belated. This is an orb show.
Is there an orb in that box?
There's an orb in the
Yes,
box.
Because I know I saw a show about something else in a box
It's,
once.
it's not a dick in a box. You can open it and find
I've
out.
been to that karaoke
I don't know that I want
rendition.
You know, I saw this and I was like, hey, that kind of looks like an orb.
It does look like.
So we got Jason a birthday cake.
Happy birthday to
Yes.
you. Happy birthday to you.
I should not
Oh,
sing.
nice.
Keep
Chad,
going.
you're not singing.
Happy birthday,
Dr.
Dr.
Jason.
Jason. Happy birthday to you.
My one wish is to have Chad solo that.
Does it feel better now that you're over 75 that you don't have to get a colonoscopy again? Like, it's got to be a relief, right?
The prep is not fun, but the propofol.
Is this
Good
making
stuff.
you feel bad that you've got such good friends that will celebrate the next time we see you?
I do have good friends. It's great to have you guys around.
Not enough to not cupcake during your birthday.
I still don't know what this means. I love cupcakes, though.
I'm gonna go get the chicken.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got some fried chicken for you. So we are going to take off. We want to thank everyone who has joined us for this. If you have not done so already, please like, subscribe to the channel, share with a friend, turn on your notifications, because I think we're going to do this again. I hope you guys had a good time. I think we can tweak it up a little bit. The next time with one of these, Sarah, we are going to talk about Maggie and Kate Fox.
Mhm.
Do you guys know who they are?
Mm-mm.
Oh, they play a big old role in the paranormal, not only
Spiritualist movement.
from well over 100 years ago,
Mhm.
but from one of the most hot topics in paranormal findings
Right now.
over the past year.
Yeah.
That'll be on the next Paranormal Consult.
How do we not know about this?
You do.
We do. We talked about it during your birthday.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm waiting for my song, Dr.